Welcome back, everybody. It's time for Chapter 13. Through his trench coat and bodysuit, Nick could feel the rough stone of the palace wall against his back. He did his best to emulate Sam Fisher's movements, peeking around the corner at the Red Berets, loading firefighting tools and emergency supplies into a cart. The pain in his knees felt like grinding sand as he attempted to crouch walk up behind them, but getting the stealth kill was so worth it. A soft grunt escaped his lips as he stood up and took aim with his pistol. One of the soldiers turned with a shocked look on his face as he realized there was an enemy with them in the courtyard. But he didn't have time to warn anyone else, as Nick fired 4 shots in rapid succession, hitting him in the leg and torso, putting 4 more rounds into his friend's back. Initially, he sought to drag them out of sight and quickly found himself puffing and out of breath.
"Why this guy's gonna be so fucking heavy?"
He asked no one in particular. Abandoning a ghost strategy and instead opting for a genocide run, he just ejected the clip from his pistol and put a new one in place, taking a moment to hide in the shadows and catch his breath. He popped the top of a Monster energy drink and sipped the sweet nectar. The soldier who came running out into the courtyard to check on his prone comrades got a half a dozen shots in the back as Nick opened fire again. He dumped the clip and replaced it with a fresh one, then swung around to the entrance, keeping his gun roughly level as he moved into the hall. Again and again, Nick's P-99 whispered sweet death into the unsuspecting men he encountered in the palace halls as he made his way through the building, occasionally pausing to shoot out the lights on his way. Ultimately, he found himself at the entrance to General Dante's inner sanctum. He had run out of ammunition a while ago, but he didn't need it anymore. He didn't need a gun. He reached over his shoulder and drew his katana. A T-10 clay-tempered tactical steel blade that had been acid-dyed in electric blue. It was ideal for use in tamagashiri, bamboo mat cutting, as well as for advanced combat operations like this. Lurking outside the door, he overheard the conversation within, clearly part of the general's evil master plan. I can't speak Spanish, and this is all in Spanish, so I'm not going to be able to read it. Sorry. Nick stepped into the room.
"Unhand, milady."
He spoke in a voice as cool and powerful as thunder. What? The general shifted focus from his daughter to the rotund intruder. In a flash, Nick was shuffling through the room, blade raised for a deadly strike. He brought the sword down with masterful precision, missing the general by mere centimeters. Startled and confused, the general stumbled back to avoid the slash, falling into a particularly dense pile of candles. Splashed with the burning candles and molten wax, his uniform quickly came alight, and the flames spread over his body. His agonized screams echoed off the stone walls of the chamber. He ran blindly, screaming, covered in fire, slammed into his desk before stumbling off the balcony and falling to his death. Nick rested the katana on his shoulder and turned to Stasia.
"It's all right, milady. It is finished."
He approached her and put an arm around her waist, pulling her close for a kiss. Deep somewhere in her traumatized brain, still working despite the shock. Maybe it was the smell, maybe it was his voice, but she screamed and shoved him away.
"What the fuck? I rescued you."
You killed my father!"
"He was the bad guy?"
With a long wailing cry, she ran to the balcony, barely able to see through the tears pouring from her eyes, her father's crumpled form still burning on the ground below. The night sky glowed with fires raging in the city beyond. She fell to her knees, weeping uncontrollably, tears pouring down between the balcony posts like a waterfall of despair. Nick waited awkwardly in the center of the room, still holding his sword. Occasionally, he wandered over to the doorway to see if anyone was coming, but they remained undisturbed. As the minutes dragged on, Nick started fiddling with his phone again and found an open Wi-Fi network. Seeing no one else was online, he started a Discord call with Senpai.
"Oh, hi. Hey, you get on the island? Mission's already over. I'm in the big guy's palace with his daughter, and he's dead. I kicked his ass in a sword fight." "So did you do her?" "No, she's crying over there about her dad or whatever."
Nick had turned the phone so Senpai could get a clear look at Stasia's weeping silently.
"Oh, this is the time you gotta go put your coat around her shoulders and lead her away. You can take her back to your place, wipe her tears away, and totally do her." "Totally. If anybody else gets online, tell them I got the general. You got it.
Nick ended the call and sheathed his sword and struggled to shrug off his trench coat. Approaching behind Stasia, he tried to lay the noxious garment upon her. She shrunk away as the cloud of hot funk wafted into her nose, saturating it. No, she said weakly. He tried again to drape it over her shoulders.
Come on, we have to go.
No, pendejo! Her flailing arms knocked the offending clothing aside as she lashed out at his nearest weak spot. The thin material of his bodysuit offered no protection from her fury as her fingernails dug into his scrotum. Those few seconds dragged on for an agonizing eternity for Nick, as she gripped and twisted his man's satchel. As soon as she released him, he fell backwards, hands flying down to protect his delicate man bits, his face searing red with pain and rage. In an instant, she was on her feet, furiously driving the heel of her boot into his thighs and groin and stomach. Taking hold of the balcony for support, she pulled her leg back for a power kick aimed right for the bright red bullseye of his face. The toe of her boot connected, shattering his nose and bending two of his front teeth backwards in his mouth. He sputtered out blood and managed to roll over, exposing the back of his head and neck to a flurry of kicks. Throughout all of this, she wasn't even aware she was screaming. There weren't any words, it was pure raw rage given voice. She didn't cease kicking his rolls of back fat until the soldiers returned and one of them grabbed her and pulled her away. She was too spent to struggle anymore, but managed to hoarsely plead with the returning guards not to kill him, to make him stand trial for murder. After helping the general's daughter to a couch in another room, the guards returned and took the unconscious man by the arms and dragged him through the puddle of his own urine into the tunnels below the palace to throw him in a cell with the other gringo they had rescued from a seaside ledge. Exhausted, bruised, miserable, the Beards languished in their cell. Ian had pulled his arms into his tactical kimono and huddled in a shivering corner. Nick lay on his side, sobbing softly through his two black eyes and broken nose.
I don't know what the fuck is bitch's problem. She's probably up there getting gangbanged by like 20 uncut guys right now.
He sniffed and blew some clotted blood out of his nose.
I did everything for her. I was even a feminist. I was patient and I'm understanding. I even let her cry when she needed to. I get turned down for some island fuckboy. I was showing interest in her and stuff. I'm 100% different, but all these other fuckboys just trying to get in her pants. I've been giving her so much love and treating her like a princess.
As soon as he tried to move, his back spasmed and he curled again into the fetal position. His tongue probed the vacant gaps where his teeth had been, sending new jolts of misery to his brain.
I am the last of a dying breed of nice guys that treat girls right. That's why I'm single. Because real recognizes real. That's why there aren't any real women left. It drives me crazy that fat mongoloids like her walk around like they're hot and shit and they own the world. She's probably lying to me this whole time, too.
He wiped some bloody snot from his lips with the back of his fingerless glove.
Nice guys just finished last.
Epilogue. The violent coup d'etat in Valenia garnered international attention. Less for a revolution, but more for the involvement of American mercenaries and rumored CIA agents. Stasia Dante acted as a key figure in the transitional government, helping to ensure the nation's free and open election process, and ultimately went on to serve several terms as a representative for her people. The trial of the American assassins, Nick Baird and Ian Sell, ended in a unanimous guilty verdict, and a sentence of life imprisonment for both parties, owing to Valenia's recent abandonment of the death penalty. The United States State Department has proven ineffective in securing either man's release, despite pressure from the Sell family. The whereabouts of the supposed rogue CIA agents, Chad Alpha, remain unknown. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed reading it. That was a hell of a fucking story. Holy shit, that was great. So, if you have your own story, you can send it to r/Moonhorse Stories, and I'll check it out. And please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's a YouTube thing, I know. Also, I have a Patreon, because that's the only way I get paid, and I would appreciate it if you donate to it. If not, that's okay too. I also have a merch store. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. T-shirts and all kinds of things. Actually, I should probably go see if they add more stuff. They always add things, but I never really know until I look. Either way, do all that. Or don't. It's up to you. And there's a live stream on Saturday. You can join that. And the links to all those things are below this video. I pointed like you can see me. I don't know why I keep doing that. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!